Dear listeners of the show, you've never been happier that we do not do a video version of this podcast than in that last episode with Celsius 7. Hello and welcome to another episode of Basic AF. I am Tom Anderson, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host and good friend, Jeff Battersby. Hello, Jeff.
Good morning, Tom Anderson. How are you, my friend?
Doing exceptionally well, though. I feel like I've been a little bit under the weather maybe this week. Not really sick, but I've been a little off, like very tired, little drip, but have maintained upright position.
I suspect I know why. By the way, I just want to point out that I have a shirt on. It's unclear whether or not you have pants on, but I definitely have a shirt on.
That is good. And yeah, dear listeners of the show, you've never been happier that we do not do a video version of this podcast than in that last episode with Celsius 7.
Yeah, Celsius 7 was looking okay. He's a much younger man than me. So Tom, you're not looking very tanned after your inglorious ship trip. You just got off a cruise, and I'm going to tell you again, I have no frigging idea how you did that. Talk to me about it, Tommy. How was it to be on the, I don't know.
The high seas.
Is that what it was?
It was on the high seas, and I wasn't high, so there's...
And people will know when I say this, the nadir of the high seas, but go ahead.
It was something.
Something? What's that mean? I don't even know how you do that, dude. How many people on the boat?
Ship.
Ship.
I was told there were roughly 5,000, not counting crew.
Dude, and
it's it's a massive floating city. It's like being in a shopping mall and a conference hotel, and kind of Las Vegas because there's casino there and shows.
Oh my God.
And all the things that I'm really not fond of.
Yeah. So how did you fare? And right now you're telling me that, and I want to go open a vein, but
well, don't do that later.
All the things that you said are my least favorite things. But go ahead, tell me how you fared.
I actually fared quite well. Again, not my favorite thing to do. Everyone else that went, we went with my wife's entire side of the family, so it was a big group. All wonderful people. 5,000. I don't get along very well with everyone. It's great. In-laws, her parents went, her sister's in-laws went. So I don't know, it was 25 plus of us there, including all the kids and everything. And really, though, we were all kind of on our own to do our own things. We went to a couple of shows together, dinner usually together. But other than that, it was, do your own thing.
All right.
And so that was fine. The shows were entertaining that we saw. We were on the MSC cruise line. It's one of those kind of like Royal Caribbean and that kind of thing. We went to Florida. We went to the Bahamas. We stopped at Ocean Cay in the Bahamas, which is this marine reserve that I don't know if they're the only ones that go there or if other cruise ships go there and they all take turns or whatever. Really pretty, really nice, but good Lord, it was hot. It was so hot. The lady that was driving the shuttle to the little golf cart to take you around to the different parts, even she commented. And she's there all the time. And she was like, "This heat is unrelenting today." And I was like, "Of course it is. I'm here." She's like,
"You're here. You're 5 inches from the equator,
right
in the dead of summer."
Yeah, and she's like, you look at the palm trees, and they weren't moving. There was no breeze or anything, but it was beautiful. It was very pretty. And then we were in Nassau the second day, and then 2 days to head back up north to the port there in New York. But yeah,
you look like you were slathered in sunscreen.
Well, most of the time you're on the ship. I mean, so you're at the ports. We were there, and it was hot, and none of us really enjoy the heat much. And I asked my wife, I was like, "Why are we going to the Bahamas in late July, early August?" She's like, "Well, I was outvoted." So the other parts of the group kind of, said, "Let's go there." The line did go up north, they would take you up to Canada, Nova Scotia. I thought, man, that'd be nice in July, be in the 60s maybe.
Yeah.
So that would have been a different story. But anyhow, we made it. No seasickness. Waters were fairly calm coming back.
Food.
some days were better than others. Like the last night was Italian
you sent
night.
me
It was pretty good. I mean, it's Italian liner, so they should have pretty decent Italian food for what it is. It's kind of like conference food, though.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So
we did go to one of the specialty
some hot
restaurants. Cost more, but they taste better. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
well
that's
spent.
And you, I think you sent me sushi pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Was that what it was? And those were pretty good.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you had $130, $135 internet for the entire trip.
Money well spent. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I don't know. And, it's funny. I posted on Threads while we were on the cruise. Basically, it was on the cruise. There's people who are the type that enjoy that. I'm certainly not that type. And that post took off. I thought it was a throwaway post, but people are very opinionated about such things, Jeff. And there were, I don't know, 800 comments or whatever it was.
Dang.
And people
Comments?
were like, yeah. And it was, I didn't do any analysis, so I don't know how it was split, but there were people like, oh, I love it. We go all the time. Nope, never, 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 never. And then there were some other people that said, well, you should try it again, but go on like Viking cruise lines.
Cruise. Okay. Viking.
Which do river cruises and ocean cruises, but they're higher end. I don't think some of them have like a no kids policy. Maybe all of them. I don't know for sure. I didn't look, but I did check. And the suite on one of them, $25,000 per person.
Oh, I think you should go.
I could spring for that.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Right. Sell your house.
God, wouldn't that be something? Sold his house, take a cruise.
There's some people that do that all the time, too. I don't understand it. I sent you an article that you didn't read, or you read only a small portion of, and somebody else sent you the audio version of the same thing.
And I did listen to it, yeah.
David Foster Wallace's, this is what it was named afterward. I think it was, when it was in Harper's, it was called Shipping Out, but it's the lead.
I did read part of it, just for the record.
Part of it, great. But that's not the whole thing.
It's the TikTok era, man. I can't do long form.
Right.
I don't have the patience.
15 seconds is all you've got time for.
That's right. On to the next. Which, speaking of, we've spent 5 minutes on this, and people are already tuning out.
Yeah, of course they are. Anyway, a supposedly fun thing I'll never do again, which is, I think, an amazing title, is what Shipping Out became when David Foster Wallace's collection of essays by the same name came out. And I highly recommend that because it says everything I feel in my bones about the possibility of going on a cruise. The TikTok version of that would be you arrive on the boat, and the first night you throw yourself off the back of it. That's the 15-second TikTok version. And I feel that. So good for you. I'm glad you could do it. I was half naked in the Sierra pretty much at the same time.
I'm well aware.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Enough of this, Thomas.
Okay.
Let's move in another direction.
All right. So this is episode 68. Dear listeners, you can find the show notes, basicafshow.com/68. And in this episode, we are going to talk all about the public betas. Now,
cool. Wait. Let me interrupt.
Go ahead.
In the meantime, feedback at basicafshow.com. We rarely do this at the top. Like us, rate us, say things about us. We really appreciate that. Audience is growing, so maybe.
Tell you what, if you don't go and leave us a review or a rating on the podcast app, I'm going to publish Jeff's shirtless picture.
Oh my God. Okay, please. please do that. I mean, I'm very fit. But nobody wants to see my gray haired.
Okay. Public betas. Speaking of the public betas, so we are going to discuss only the ones we've installed. And Jeff, which ones have you installed thus far?
I have installed the iPad beta. I have installed the macOS beta. I have installed the iPhone beta, and I have installed the watchOS beta. And you, Tom?
I have installed the iPad beta, the iPhone or iOS beta, and I installed the macOS beta, and then yesterday had to uninstall and downgrade, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, and I think my computer may have just installed that one. So we'll see. I just got a message on my phone saying that a new device has been added. So we'll see if they fixed it or if it's.
Yeah, it seems we'll talk about it in a minute.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's start with iPad. You want to?
Yeah. So you have done actually more with the iPad than I have. I have been using the iPad as an iPad, not connected to my computer. I'm sorry, Riley. I'm not up to your. I just kicked my mic. I'm not up to your standards. But Tom, one of the things that I'm noting with you is that you really are playing with it like you're working with a Mac. I'm using it on my iPad as I would normally do. I love Preview, and I think I mentioned that the last time we talked about this. Preview is working out very nicely, and it's nice to see it unified across all the platforms now. It makes the most sense to me. But I have not done what you did, and I'm looking at a screenshot that you said of iPadOS, and it looks surprisingly like macOS.
It does.
With the Launchpad.
Mm-hmm. And it has been very good. Like I've, as you know, Jeff, I go back and forth with this. I've tried using the iPad a lot as a primary system, with the caveat that there have always been things I've had to go back to the Mac to do. But if I can use it, I do prefer iPadOS over macOS typically. And most of the time, if I'm not doing like computer work, sorry again, Riley, I know that's, you can do computer work on the iPad, but traditional, we'll call it kind of legacy stuff, work, day job work, where I have to use a Mac. I just like to grab the iPad. I use it most of the time at home, but the Stage Manager thing didn't really stick for me. The windowing was kind of weird because of the, you couldn't adjust the windows to be the, whatever size you wanted and put them kind of wherever you wanted. And so that's all, for the most part, has been remedied in iPadOS 26. So I have, since we got back from the cruise, I've used the iPad as my primary device at home, except for podcast recording. So aside from that, or editing. But it's worked out very well. I've got it hooked up to the studio display. I've got my Logitech keyboard paired with it. The Apple trackpad is paired with it. And so I've got the iPad set off to the left. It's kind of almost like a laptop display would be if you had your MacBook plugged into an external monitor, and have been running it that way. And I've been very pleasantly surprised with how well it's been working.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Look at one of the screenshots that you sent and have posted. You've got about, looks like 12 open windows. Doing Command Tab to be able to switch between apps, which is pretty amazing. You have window controls, and you say window controls, changing location feels not right. The other thing that I'll say about the window controls that drives me a little bonkers is that you have to tap twice to get the thing you want.
Right.
In other words, you have to tap it. It expands the size of the window controls, and then you select the window control that you want. That's a little wonky to me. What I don't know, and I haven't had the chance or haven't taken the time to mess with, and maybe you have and can tell me this, one of the weaknesses in my mind of the iPad is the command key limitations. You don't have the ability to, quit an app or do that stuff. More importantly, in my writing app of choice, doesn't support like Command I for italicize or Command U for underline, Command B for bold. Just doesn't work. You got to do it manually. Do you know if that's a thing that's been addressed in iPadOS 26?
So what you just mentioned there with your app not supporting, italics and underlining and that sort of stuff, that seems like that's an app thing they just need to add.
So they can add it, is what you're saying to the. So it is in other applications.
Yes,
that's what you're telling me. Okay, yeah. That's so I know that it wasn't a thing that worked in the previous version, the previous iteration of iPadOS. So that's kind of a good thing, and I should play with that and see how it works. But yeah, that's that'll be a boon That would be a huge thing if it supports that. What kind of work have you been doing in iPadOS?
So I have been doing, so my last newsletter that I sent, I did everything for that in iPadOS. So that's the editing the screenshots in Preview, the writing in Craft, with the caveat, and this is where there are still some rough edges. The newsletter platform that I use, Beehive, just doesn't work great in Safari.
Okay.
On the iPad, works fine on the Mac, but like copying and pasting text and getting to some of the menus, it's still not quite right. So while Apple's come a long way with Safari in terms of making it more desktop class, it's still not quite there. And I don't know if that's 100% Apple's fault, if it's just that web apps need to be updated to support things better. I don't know where that falls. I suspect it's maybe a combination of the two. But other than that, for the most part, though, everything was great. Like the one thing you mentioned, the app switcher there is and this is partly because I think of how iOS and iPadOS manage apps. So on the Mac, if you have a bunch of apps open, say you've got 18 apps open and you do Command Tab, you see all 18 apps in the app switcher that pops up. I think there's a limitation in iPadOS of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10. I'm not sure how many it is. But in that screenshot, I had 12 apps open.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
shared.
only showing you a
most
limited.
recent one.
So that screenshot is 12 distinct apps.
I believe it is. Yeah. So I had messages, threads, shortcuts, ChatGPT, music, a podcast app, Craft. I can't tell what the other ones are. Safari. Paste, which is my clipboard manager. Preview was open. The Files app. Yeah. So it was a lot.
Yeah. That's. And as far as hit to the way iPadOS runs, anything?
And I haven't done it since I put the most recent beta on, but in that particular one, it did start to kind of stutter a little bit. Like it flaked out a bit. And I don't know if that's just, they're still working on memory management and swapping and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. The thing on the window controls, when an app is in a window mode, like not full screen, the controls are in the upper left, like they are on the Mac. When you put the app full screen, the window controls shift more towards the center of the display next to the app name in the menu bar. And that's still tripping me up because it's just, it's so odd that it goes from left to, top center somewhere. Did remind me though, way back in the day with it was one of the first public betas for macOS 10, and Apple put the Apple logo in the center of the menu bar. It didn't do anything, but they stuck it there.
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird, but it made me think of that. And so I don't know if that will ever change or not. It feels a little bit like the round mouse pointer did, that it was different just for difference sake. Because I know on the iPad in the upper left, you've got the time, the date and the day and the date. But it's like, well, just shift that over to the right side and just put the stupid thing up there in the left. But all in all, though, very, very happy.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does now start to feel more like, not exactly like, but more like a standard computer interface, the thing that we're used to using, with the Mac. For so many years, the iPad felt like a bigger iPhone. It's just like, oh, we got a bigger screen. We'll spread out the little buttons and give you very little control over it. But this does feel much more like a good marriage between the simplicity of the iPad and the complications that you can have when you're working on a macOS device. And I kind of like the marriage between those two. That it makes it much more likely that I will be using the iPad to do things that I typically lean on the that I typically lean on my Mac for. One of the things I sent you a message about yesterday in iPadOS. So we've had the Journal app, now for a year, or has it been longer than a year? On
I think it's
iOS.
2.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, but I said 1. I started using the Journal app on the iPad, and I will say that it makes much more sense to me. Like I could see myself not doing an everyday thing like our pal from the journaling guide suggests, but on
Hi, Joe.
yeah, we see you, Joe Moyer. But I could see myself using this more regularly now on the iPad, just to say, I've got these couple of ideas. And I don't know if this was true of the previous journaling app, but you could set up separate journals for a variety of things rather than one linear journal that you're stuck with. So, for example, if I'm taking notes on something I'm writing and I just want to think those things through, you can do that, which is currently something I do use notes for. I'm not going to get rid of notes. I love notes, particularly with the guests that we'll have in the next episode. Little teaser there. But I can see this as I don't really put thinking down when I'm using notes. I just, jot ideas, basically little bullet points and things that I want to be aware of, and then store related articles or related information that I want. But if I wanted to kind of think things through or talk to myself about what it is that I'm doing, I can see now using the journaling app, which on iOS, I don't want to think hard with my thumbs. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work for me. It's good for quick bits, but not much more than that. But I could see myself doing that. So Joe Moyer, hats off. I might be joining your team.
Nice.
Anything else? Any other thoughts about iPadOS?
Just in closing, I'm a big fan.
I feel like I'm at church.
In closing, bow your heads. Not a sermon, just a thought. Did you ever hear those old commercials on the radio back in the day? The guy would come on and he'd, drop a little bit of wisdom, and these were in Northern Virginia, and he'd throw these little tidbits of kind of tiny little stories, 30, 60 seconds or whatever. And he'd say, I'm so-and-so from such and such church. And he'd say, da-da-da. And they were always like kind of, being a good neighbor and all that sort of stuff. And the messages were always usually pretty good. But
we could use those now, but go ahead.
He would say, not a sermon, just a thought. I was like, kind of clever. And it stuck. Obviously, it worked.
Yeah, right. Stuck. You've got it stuck in your head.
And everybody, like in Northern Virginia, those were like a thing for a while. But anyhow, not everyone's thrilled with the windowing changes. There's a vocal group that preferred the old method, because one of the things that is lost is the slide over window. Okay. And so the slide over window in iPadOS 18 is when you could bring a window up in like a narrow view, and it would hover over the app behind it, or two apps if you were in split view, and you could kind of just slide it out to the side of the screen so it was off the screen, out of the way, and then if you wanted to reference whatever it was again, you would just slide it back in. And so there are some people who are missing that. Split view you can kind of set up fairly easily. It's not as simple as you mentioned there a minute ago. You got to tap it twice to get to like the window control pop up to just put stuff left or right. And of course you can sling the app to the left or the right, and it'll go 50% on that side. But so not everybody loves it, but I think overall it's a good change.
All right. Yeah, I agree. Like it. All right. Onward. iOS, Tom. I'm surprised you actually installed iOS 26 on your phone.
I did.
You're not usually that bold.
I was seeing all of the nice screenshots of liquid glass and the comments, and it just got me.
Gotcha.
I yielded to temptation.
Peer pressure, pal. Didn't your mama ever talk to you about that?
Yeah, that's probably why I did it.
I might have been one of the ones pushing you that direction. I really have liked iOS. Mm-hmm. It's Very, very solid to me. Solid meaning I like the way it feels. I like the way it looks. I do really like, I went almost all no color icons, no color on my phone, which for some reason appeals to me. In fact, if it ever switches over to colory stuff, I'm like, what frigging focus mode am I in right now? I don't know.
Like, dang it, I didn't set it here.
Yeah. But
by non-color, the frosted looking ones, the clear ones?
I just started using those.
Okay.
I like them.
Come around.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They're, the dark mode, frosty ones. Yeah, I'm a dark mode guy. You know me, Tom.
Right.
I'm not. I know you think I'm a moron, but you're right. And anyway, but yeah, I'm really liking the look and the feel of it. Sometimes I feel like, and this is maybe more on iPad than on iOS, when you go to a lock screen, and you have to put your passcode in, it gets a little bubbly for me. Like it's, everything kind of jumps. And one of the other things is if you tap in a field, like sending messages, have you noticed that if you tap to type a message, it kind of explodes,
lights up a little bit. And it's like, pow.
Yeah, that's a little much for me. I feel like, and I've just screwed something up. But overall, really, really like the way it works. The overall feel of of iOS to me is amazing. It really is kind of delightful. A lot of little delightful things in it, which is quintessential Apple. But I'm really, really enjoying that. I see here you say share sheet icons are big. I will say that there's a big change to the way like screenshots work and how you put them away or get rid of them. I like some of those features, but it took me a minute to get used to the way that they work because it doesn't work exactly in the same way it did before.
Yeah.
In fact, what I find myself doing is, it used to be by default, when the screenshot came up, you just tapped on the screen and circled something and it would highlight it with whatever pen or pencil you had selected. Now you actually have to actively select the markup window in order to do that. Otherwise, it's going to attempt to wipe stuff away or do that. So that's a little bit of a
visual
change.
intelligence thing, which you can.
And here's I'm going to confess my genius. I'm an idiot, is what I am. I didn't realize I was looking at a screenshot that you sent to me the other day, and there was I swear, I think it's what I'd done is I thought I'd swiped away from the Messages app and to another place and thought I was on my lock screen, and on my lock screen it was reminding me to take my creatine. I was like, what the heck is this? I don't take creatine.
That was
fantastic.
And
I took a screenshot of your screenshot, circled that, and sent it back to you and said, what is this? You sent me back a message saying, yo, dumbass, that's my screen.
So good.
I was like, oh my God.
At first I was like, what is what? What is that's what I just sent him. It's like, what's he doing? But then I figured it out.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the other thing was I don't have any notifications turned on, and you have tons of notifications turned on for Threads. So 3 or 4 notifications for Threads. Like, crap, I got to go back and fix this stuff.
You're like, what has happened to my phone?
Yeah.
I don't even use this app. What are you doing? It was so good.
So anyway, I'm an idiot.
That was fun.
This is just proof. I've always believed it, but there we go.
Glad I can help.
What do you like most about it so far?
I agree with what you said with Liquid Glass. I think it is fun. I think it's brought some life back to iOS, iPadOS, everywhere they've put it except for macOS, I think. I do think it's playful. It may be a little much, like you were saying there, when you tap into certain fields, do certain things, it kind of throws that glow around it or whatever. but I don't hate that part of it, so
No.
I can live with it. I think there's still a few spots where it's hard to read or see like a UI component because or what's behind it. They just have some more dialing in to do. I think they've made a lot of progress.
Yeah,
but
tons.
But yeah, I really like it. I think it's a good change.
Yeah, I agree. Have you used the camera app at all?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not. I get it. I'm not sure how much I like it. I still, to a great extent, am using Halide. Quickly for videos and stuff like that. I'll pop off on the Photos app. So, or the camera app, not the Photos app. The UI has changed significantly, and I suspect that's going to drive some people batty.
Yeah, I think for people like my parents or
Very
my wife
simple.
who just want to open the camera and take a picture, maybe hit the 1x or the 2x or the 5x, piece of cake. Yeah, it's when you want to dial in and change something. That there's a lot of muscle memory in the old way, and so
yeah,
it's just
totally
retraining that. But,
yeah. So we'll see. I may get used to it. Again, it's a 50-50 thing. I know that I will hear things about it in my house when this rolls out in the fall.
Yeah. I didn't put it in our note, but I wanted to ask you, I think maybe you do more phone calls than I do based on other discussions we've had. The new phone features, like the phone app looks different, and then there's the phone screening and everything. Have you had much experience with those yet?
Yeah, there are a couple of different things with the way it works, and it's kind of interesting. The phone works like the phone works, which is great. We don't need to reinvent the phone. It would be a mistake. But one of the things I do note is there's physical feedback when you're making a phone call. So when somebody answers the phone, it actually gives you a little tick tick. You get that kind of feel in your hand when somebody's either you go into voicemail or picking up the phone, maybe because it assumes most people are doing 50 other things at once when they're making a phone call. So it's a nice little enhancement. There are changes in CarPlay that I really like to the way the phone comes up and allows you to work with it. And we're going to talk about CarPlay in a second. I have not as yet used the feature that where you call and you're on hold for an hour and you have it so it picks you up. I haven't had opportunity to do that. That's not a lot of phone calls that I'm making. I'm either talking with my mom or my sister or somebody like that. So that's interesting. I still think one of the things that's kind of a drag. Have you seen the voicemail feature?
In what way?
If you look at, I will call after this and leave you a voicemail. Don't answer, Tom.
Okay.
I know you have me blocked anyway, but
yes.
I will leave you a message. If you look at it, it used to be very clearly broken down between recent calls and voicemail. It is now actually all in one place, that part. So it's hard to know whether or not, you're tapping the voicemail message or you're tapping the recent calls. In fact, you're seeing both of them. And it's a little, again, muscle memory. Oh, yeah. Look at you who doesn't answer his phone.
Potential spam.
Yeah, that's why you don't answer your phone. I don't blame you. Yeah. So that's a little different and may take some getting used to. It's just a little unclear. You tap the message if there's voicemail associated with it. It goes ahead and plays through. But it's a little the redesign because it's been so much the same way for so long. That redesign is a little wonky to me. But yeah, otherwise, love. And those are again. Minor muscle memory changes, and I think I've got at least a couple of those left in me. And then at some point in time, I was like, "Damn it! Why did they change this shit?"
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, when my teeth are falling out. CarPlay.
Yes, sir.
So you and I both have two different displays. You have a portrait display. Mine is not a portrait display. It's more landscape. And you have some thoughts about that because of your portrait display. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Should we do counseling, Tom?
What's that?
Should we do counseling, Tom?
Yes. So in iOS 18, at least, I didn't have the portrait display prior to that, but I had 3 rows of app icons in CarPlay, and then the dock down at the bottom.
Yes.
With iOS 26, I only have 2, and much like in the share sheet, the icons are nice and fat, chunky boys. So
for your old man eyes, pal.
Exactly. That was my first thought too, but again, not a big deal. Like I don't swipe through the apps all that often, but just something that I noticed. I did file feedback on that. I don't know if that's coming back. Maybe they're not going to do 3 rows anymore. It seems like that would be odd because I think in the spring or late winter, they added 3rd row icon support on more units, like for different cars. So I feel like it might just be a bug and may eventually come back. If it does, great. If it doesn't, it'll be fine. I do like the live activities.
Yeah.
In CarPlay, which is nice.
Yeah. So interesting. What's nice about those live activities is weather. So if it's going to rain, you see that. What's really interesting is you can't tap that and get to a weather app. It doesn't let you go there. So my hopes for an actual weather app on CarPlay, not there. Carrot, yes, you can if you have Carrot's weather app that curses at me and calls me names, which I love. I don't know. Maybe I'm into BDSM, Tom. I don't know.
No, that's a different show.
Like if you tap that, it doesn't bring anything up. What I really love about it is
it's interesting. It doesn't bring up the Carrot app.
It does not bring up because it's not
CarPlay.
Carrot that's showing up there. That is Apple's. Unless I don't know whether Carrot has updated their thing or not. They might. They might make it so that's the default.
I think in that screenshot that I showed, that's Carrot. I think that's a Carrot.
If it is,
activity.
Then it doesn't do anything. Maybe it is Carrot.
Yeah.
I thought that was the
built-in
built-in
over
weather.
from the phone. So, and I don't do live activities for weather.
Okay.
On the
So
phone.
interesting. Whatever the case, you can't tap it.
Update, right? If an update comes out, then you tap it, it brings up. Because Carrot on CarPlay gives you that radar view where you can see if it's what's going on.
And if you have the sports app installed, Apple Sports app, it will show you scores of games.
Nice.
Which is kind of cool. So you can get an update there too. So I really, really like that feature. And I hope that, other apps, kind of pick that up. One of the things that does drive me nuts, at least on mine, I notice here you've got the way it's broken up on your portrait screen is you've got a podcast on the right hand side, focus traps, not like the thirst traps that Tom and I are.
That whole last episode.
You get the whole enchilada there. You can see the podcast that you're listening to, and you've got the controls, and you've got the title of the podcast. If you end up with a live activity on my horizontal screen, the way it's set up, on the right-hand side, you get the map. On the left, on the right-hand side, you're getting 3 horizontal updates. So, the usual, whatever it is that you determine that you want there. And if there are 3, all as you get is the show art and then the play button or the pause button, depending on what it is, and then the forward and backward icons. You do not see any title information, whether it's music or whether it's a podcast or whether you're listening to something else. That annoys me because I have to then tap it to say I'm listening to Radio Paradise, which I do often when I'm driving. If tap that, I have to pop that up to be able to see what it's to be able to see what it is that I'm listening to. Right. Yeah, what's this song? That's a little annoying to me. That's kind of old news. It's always been the case, but I would like to see even if it was tiny, some kind of title. But I guess if it's tiny, they don't want, you leaning over to be able to read what the name is as you plow into the back of the guy in front of you.
Now you can just look down to do tapbacks on messages.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, no, tapbacks, by the way, nice feature. Yeah.
Yeah, so don't use your phone in the car. Sophisticated people use CarPlay in the car. You get distracted with that.
Yeah, why not? Sophisticated people. That's us, Tom.
Yep. All right.
3 teeth and lots of sophistication. All right. Anything else? iOS?
No,
CarPlay?
I think we're good.
All right. Let's talk about Tahoe 26.
Let's do it. All right. My first impression after installing the Tahoe public beta was just how rounded the window corners had become.
Okay.
They look very much like iPadOS windows, and I know that's 100% intentional. That distinction aside, what do you think?
So, Jason Snell wrote a big, long thing on Six Colors. It's been a few weeks back, and it was one of the early betas. And his contention was it just feels like change to change, not for any specific purpose or reason. I had not installed any of the betas that he had at the time. I waited a little bit to do macOS betas. My feeling is, it's not all that different. I'm not feeling anything that makes me go zoom zoom. It's it's pretty much the same thing. One of the things that you pointed out, and I kind of like this feature, is that there are little icons next to the Apple menu items, and which is kind of nice. So you get to see. You get to see what it is that you're looking at with icons that maybe make visual sense to you. As they look kind of like the apps do. I do like that. Not as liquidy, but it is kind of liquidy. It's kind of interesting. In other words, we've got some see-through menu items and things of that nature. But overall, my general feeling is, okay, not a big deal.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah, exactly.
But all in all, it's still very much a Mac, and it's not as drastic. I mean, it's really noticeable on iOS and iPadOS. And it's not to say that you can't see it on macOS. You certainly can. But maybe it's just, used a Mac for 100 years now. And it's just, it's a Mac.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't,
I love it. It's a Mac, but does not feel as, I don't know, stand out as maybe on some of the other platforms.
I would say that. I think the biggest standout
stands out.
Yeah, and they didn't change that, right? That's
not that I know of.
Yeah, it's a little wanky.
Yeah,
wonky.
And honestly, some of the icons in general have not been as good as some of the old days when we had the really nice.
Well, they did hire me,
icons.
Tom.
Well, you're doing okay.
Yeah, right.
There was or is a bug of some sort in the most recent public beta that does not seem to be affecting everyone, thankfully. I woke up Friday morning, had a text message from a friend of mine that said the latest Tahoe beta filled up my drive. I was like, well, that's not good. He's like 235 gigs of system data.
Oh,
like, yikes. And I had installed it the night before and just kind of put the laptop away because it's my work laptop. So get to work Friday morning, get started, and I didn't have a ton of free space anyway. It was probably 30 gig maybe.
Okay.
And I look and I have 11. I'm like, And then I look and I have 6 gigabytes left. And then I look and I have 4. And so I do some researching. I see there's a post on Reddit about it. And they're like, well, if you disable Spotlight, it seems to be something with, runaway Spotlight indexing is, I don't know if it was the logs or if it was the index databases themselves, whatever it was, but it was chewing up a bunch of space. So I turned that off. Didn't seem to completely stop the bleeding for me.
Didn't give you back. Okay.
It didn't give me back anything. And I got down at one point to 250 megs free.
Why, that's a whole hard drive from the 90s.
Right. And I was like, this isn't going to work. So I downgraded to Sequoia.
And downgrading, Tom, means that you wiped your hard drive and reinstalled, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've talked about, though, gosh, it was an episode way back. What was when your stuff was stolen?
Yes.
And you got your new stuff, and you're like, it's not that painful because everything is
in the cloud.
In a cloud of some sort. Yeah. For work, it's mostly Google Drive. And so I did that. I just went into recovery. Just a tip, if you go into recovery, initially it's going to want to reinstall the last public beta. Mm-hmm. But if you go in and erase the drive, and then it restarts, you have to activate the Mac again, and then it comes back and gives you Sequoia that you can load or whatever previous.
Yeah, and this is the trouble with betas. That's the game.
And again, what mad about it? I was just like, it comes with the territory, but
right, it definitely does.
And it doesn't seem to be terribly widespread because I kept monitoring like Mac Rumors and Reddit and Threads. I posted on Threads, and a few people replied that they're not seeing it. Thankfully for them, so it does not seem to be a huge problem. Although I did see though on the Reddit post, some people were saying they had the problem in earlier developer betas. And so it kind of seems to be hit or miss for people. Like I had not had it on the first public beta. The second one I did. So hopefully they figure out what that is. And
what's causing it and
take care of it.
All right, cool. All right, last but not least, and I'm the only one of us who've done this, watchOS 26. The buttons look a little different. When I say the buttons, we've got a little liquid glass for the passcode entry. After you charge it, put it back on. You have to do that. Notes, because I have a significant number and some of them are lengthy. That feature was added, so the Notes app is available on the watch. So it took a little while, I would say at least an hour for my notes to sync, before everything got hooked up. I have not used Notes yet, other than to look at them on my watch. And I don't know how much I will, honestly.
That's fair.
Unless I set something up that allows me to add a note that, into it.
Quick capture of some sort, maybe. Yeah.
But at this point in time, quick glance to be able to see something, sure. But the reality is, even with the wonderful system that Matthias has created in Forever Notes, it's a lot of notes. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. But as far as everything else, it's working solidly. I will say, other than battery life, and that's true on the iPad, and that's also true on the phone. No, my watch battery definitely skanky at the moment.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And that's it, man.
Okay, well there you go. A rundown. I have not done the Vision OS beta. There's no public betas, but I just didn't go through the hassle of doing it. So
okay.
Got nothing to add on that. And the watch I don't do just because it's so painful if you have to restore that. I think
yes. Well, and plus you've got a million years of how many years of stuff
move streak things. Yeah. I don't know. I still do it, but I don't pay attention to it. It's like I don't know. One of these days I'm just going to be like, you know what? I'm not doing anything today. Heck with this.
And I have moved my way over to the app that we talked about earlier, which I can't remember the name of. Gentler Streak, correct. Yeah, I love that. I still am loving Gentler Streak, and I will continue to pay for that. It definitely suits my way of doing things. It's a good thing.
Good. All
Tom,
right.
we've burned another hour almost. Actually, we did it right. 50 minutes by the time we get done here. And as always, we're very grateful for those of you who come along for the ride. More and more of you as time goes on, and we're super grateful for that. As I said at the top of the show, hope you will all reach out to your podcast app and rate us and tell us, either what idiots we are, which we know, or pass on some information. You, through your podcast app, if you look at the notes, have the ability to speak to us directly. So if you want to do that, go ahead. Feedback@basicafshow.com. Show art, Randall Martin Design, as always. And if you have not yet listened to the episode with Celsius 7 from Psychokinetics, who happens to be my brother Jacob, highly recommend that you go back and listen to that episode. Psychokinetics has provided us with our great show music, and if you have not heard that episode, we encourage you to, because it was a lot of fun.
It was. Yeah, that was a good one. All right, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, so that is a wrap. Thanks again for being here, and we will talk to you in a couple of weeks. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of your night.
See ya!